Hi everyone, this is going to be our updated simple sourdough bread recipe using just strong white flour, utilizing some of the methods that we've been experimenting recently. Let's dive into it. I took my starter out of the fridge yesterday evening at 5 p.m. I discarded down to 20 grams. I fed that with 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. Then I fed it again before going to sleep around 11 p.m. with 90 grams of flour and 90 grams of water. So it's about 8 a.m. this morning, so it's nice and active. And this is how much it rose overnight. You'll need 500 grams of strong white flour, 300 grams of water, 8 or 9 grams of salt, and 160 grams of starter. I will now discard this down to just 1 tablespoon of starter. Feed that with 20 grams of flour, 20 grams of water, and put it back in the fridge. Combine it well. Get in there with your hands to combine everything. You'll notice that this dough isn't as hydrated as some of our other recipes. This is geared towards beginners, so keeping the hydration low means that dough will be easier to handle. Once it's fully combined, we're going to cover it with a damp cloth and let it rest for 1 hour. We'll now stretch and fold about 20 times. You can do this inside the bowl like this, or you can take it out onto the counter and do slap and fold like this. Let's do this about 20 times, and then we're going to rest it again between 15 and 30 minutes. And we're going to knead it again about 20 times. Coat the bowl with just a little bit of oil, and then shape your dough into a rough ball, and then put it in the bowl. We'll cover it with damp cloth and let it rest for about 3 or 4 hours until it is doubled. So it's best to keep an eye on it, because depending on the temperature and the activity of your starter, it might happen sooner or later. It's been 3 hours, and as you can see, it has risen a lot. I think this is enough. We're going to move on to the shaping phase. Dust the worktop lightly and then plop the dough onto it. Gonna stretch it out a little bit and then fold it onto itself like this, and then shape it roughly, not too much, just like that, and we're gonna rest it for about 30 minutes. For dusting the Benetton or your bowl with the cloth in it, I highly recommend using a mixture of rice flour and normal bread flour, so 50-50. This mixture is amazing. It really stops the dough to sticking to your Benetton or as I mentioned, your bowl with a towel. So what you want to do is dust it generously. I'm using a 20 centimeter diameter Benetton. You can also use 18, but it's a bit of a squeeze, so I definitely recommend 20. So that's dusted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake this into a bowl. You don't need to over tighten it, just tighten it just enough. Something like this, get your hands underneath it. You don't want to break this top seal, so I'm going to sprinkle some on top. This, take it, plop it upside down, and what you want to do is basically get that seal going at the bottom. I'm going to cover this now and to let it proof. By the way, I'm not using cling film or anything to cover top of this dough as I have in the past. I just think it didn't really make any difference. The proving time will depend on the temperature and everything else. Given that it's summer now, it's relatively warm, I think I'm only going to need probably up to 2 hours. But we'll just see how it goes. Basically, we want the dough to expand and essentially fill the rest of the Benetton. It's been 1 hour and a half, and I'm going to start preheating the oven as I think that it has risen nicely. Preheat the oven at the max temperature for at least 20 minutes. And we're gonna flip it over, put it on your baking tray, and take it off. As you can see, it came off super easy thanks to the rice flour mixed with normal flour. I'll be covering the dough with a 24 centimeter Pyrex bowl. You can also put it in a cast iron pan like I did in my previous videos, but I realized that a Pyrex bowl is more accessible and it also looks really cool, so you can keep an eye on the rise of the dough. We need to score the bread. I'm just gonna do a simple cross. I'll add some accents here, 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 and here. Going to cover it with Pyrex, and we're going to reduce the heat to 220 just before we put it in. Put it in the middle tray, and we're going to time it for 40 minutes. I'm just going to remove the Pyrex bowl and put it back in for 5 minutes for extra browning. Place it on a cooling rack and let it cool down completely before cutting into it. I know it's hard to do that, but have some patience because it will be worth it. If you cut into it too early, the texture will be gummy and too moist, whereas if you let it cool down, you get a perfect crumb.